Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the Raiders lost by over 4 possessions against the Bills, Davante Adams appears injured, and genius Josh McDaniels' offense could only muster 13 plays in the second half of the game? And also, have any of you guys seen Hunter Renfrow? I have barely seen this guy at all for the 2023 season. We are starting to come back to reality. After a 1-point win against the Denver Broncos last week, some Raiders fans who love Josh McDaniels were convinced we're going to the Super Bowl. And even I sipped on the Kool-Aid just a little bit, not a chug. And I had high hopes coming into this week. Remember, the Raiders stayed on the East Coast. They were in a secret hideout in Appalachia, and everything was great. The Raiders danced and sang along to John Denver's A Country Road, and everything was great inside Appalachia, except their game looked less like this.
Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains,
and more like this. And if I was a Raiders player stuck in West Virginia on a former plantation, I think the last person I'd want to be stuck with is genius Josh McDaniels. The Raiders got completely embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills. We have a lot to talk about. Remember to like and subscribe for more Raiders content. And look, man, it would be one thing to lose this game and it was a close game. Maybe the Raiders lost by 14 points. And I could handle that. And I could still believe in Josh McDaniels, still believe in this team. But the Raiders got completely embarrassed. The score of the game ended up being 10-38. The Raiders could not score a single point in the second half of this game. Oh, and when you're down by 4 touchdowns, what does genius Josh McDaniels decide to do? Well, keep Davante Adams on the field, of course, and let him play in garbage time, which led to a nasty hit against Davante Adams. This guy got completely rocked by Taylor Rapp of the Buffalo Bills, and it was just like, wow, now's the time we're going to air it out deep when we're down 4 touchdowns, and we're going to keep Davante on the field, let him take an unnecessary hit. Davante Adams ended up having to go to the locker room after that play. He was really shaken up, and now Davante Adams is being monitored for a concussion. This is the reality of what's happening right now. It's not official yet, but I think he is likely to go into concussion protocol after that hit. The refs had to take him out of the game. He was still trying to play after that hit. By the way, this game pissed me off so much that I actually got scratched by my cat on the nose after this game, so I'm going to be dealing with this right here for quite some time. And by the way, the Raiders already have another player who's still in concussion protocol, and that's Jacoby Myers, who took a nasty hit last week against the Denver Broncos. I don't know why the Raiders offense is putting these players in positions where they can get absolutely rocked, especially key players who we need for this upcoming season. And now, if Jacoby Myers is not back yet, and if Davante Adams does go to concussion protocol, it's very likely the Raiders could be out with their 2 top wide receivers for this upcoming matchup against the Steelers. And it was not all ugly. In the beginning, we had a little bit of hope. We had a little bit of faith. Maybe genius Josh and Jimmy G could take us to the promised land as the Raiders march down the field in the first drive, ending in a touchdown. And this is the same thing that happened last week against the Denver Broncos. The Raiders start off hot in the first drive. Josh McDaniels seems to be able to call plays in this scenario, but then things start falling apart immediately after the first drive, and that's exactly what happened today. We broke this down. The Raiders only had 13 plays in the second half of the football game, while the Buffalo Bills had 39 plays. Yes, the Raiders defense is not great, but they really were done no favors by the Raiders offense. The Raiders offense in the second half first had a pick from Jimmy Garoppolo, and this was not the first pick by Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo has already thrown 3 picks for this season so far. Earlier in the game, he had a pick that I'm not going to say is entirely on him. It was a busted screen pass play, and it got tipped by a defender, and then it was just a ball in the air, and the Buffalo Bills defense was able to quickly pick that off. And Jimmy G looked frustrated. The pressure was in his face during that pick. But the second interception that Jimmy Garoppolo had, I believe, is all on him. You know, we had this trend throughout the day where Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, when he had his first read there, he was able to get the football to his guy. But when it came to the second read, when he had time, by the way, the Raiders offensive line was giving Jimmy G a good amount of time for the majority of the game in terms of pass protection. And this second pick, which I think really sealed the deal in this game, it was just an easy pick intended for Josh Jacobs. Jimmy G was checking it down yet again to Josh Jacobs, Keep in mind, outside of Davante Adams, no other wide receiver on the Raiders team had 2 receptions. And I think really to capture what happened is in this particular play, this drive ended in a field goal, but Jimmy G once again had extra time, rolled out to the left a little bit, and had to make a decision on his second and third read, tried to hit DeAndre Carter, and this ball was just thrown completely far off, nowhere near it, and it could have been a first down for Jimmy G. And we saw examples like this time and time again. Josh Jacobs could not run the football at all, and Jimmy Garoppolo could not throw it deep at all. And these 2 situations allowed the Buffalo Bills to play close to the line of scrimmage and clamp down on Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs did not even have a yard in this game. Are you freaking kidding me? Josh Jacobs ended the day with 9 carries and -2 yards. Absolutely nowhere to go. And Jimmy Garoppolo is starting to realize when you do not have an O-line that could run block, when you do not have a great defense, well, we're going to have to rely on the quarterback to make some great throws, be an elite QB to carry this football team, and he just simply is not the type of player to get that done for the Raiders and Josh McDaniels. And Josh McDaniels, the genius, the guy who's supposed to be this offensive guru, even though we have not seen the guy have success outside of Tom Brady, this guy failed to get Hunter mother-effing Renfro a freaking target when the game actually mattered. It was only in garbage time when Hunter Renfro got his first reception. No. First target of the 2023 NFL season. Oh, and it was 1 reception for 23 yards. Genius Josh McDaniels, I think you should have used this guy when the game still mattered and not in freaking garbage time. And it's decisions like this to not utilize somebody like Renfro. You're looking at the targets. Davante Adams, the only guy to have 2 receptions outside of Austin Hooper and Josh Jacobs on the freaking team. You should have got Hunter Renfro involved with the injury to Jacoby Myers, but no. Josh McDaniels decided not to do anything like that. And instead, McDaniels gave you a little taste of what Renfro could have been if he would have actually utilized him in the majority of the game. And it was ugly on defense, but not entirely ugly. In the beginning of the game, the Raiders forced a quick 3 and out, and it had many of us hyped up thinking, hey, could the Raiders upset the Bills? Oh, shit. And there was an ugly play for Nate Hobbs. Many people were saying, hey, is this a legit PI? I thought it was a legit PI. Nate Hobbs tried to argue his case, but overall, man, this guy just had a tough game. And it was not only just that PI that was tough for Nate Hobbs, but this defense really struggled to rush the passer. And I don't want to bring up Mark Davis, and I don't want to bring up Chandler Jones. And we know Chandler Jones has a secret about Mark Davis. Who knows what kind of naughty secret this is? But we know that's the reason, according to him, why he's not playing. And I think the Raiders could have really used Chandler Jones right here, because Tyree Wilson, Malcolm Kuntz, this whole entire Raiders defensive line was a complete non-factor in the majority of the game. And when the Raiders did get pressure, you saw Nate Hobbs on a blitz get some pressure against this Bills team, but he was unable to wrap up. Josh Allen was breaking tackles. You saw a lot of broken tackles and a lot of broken Raiders hearts in this game. And even though the defense got worked, especially towards the end of the game, they were just getting absolutely destroyed. It seemed like every run that the Buffalo Bills had ended in 10 yards. But keep in mind, man, there was that moment when the Bills went for it on 4th down and the Raiders defense was able to hold up and get a stop. The 3 and out that happened earlier in the game, the turnover on downs that the Raiders defense was able to force, all this culminated into nothing for the Raiders. No points for the Raiders. And to me, it just goes back to the fact that if the Raiders were able to sustain drives, if they were able to try to keep their defense off the field, if they were able to have more than 13 plays in the entire second half of the football game, maybe the defense would have been able to perform a little better and help them out. And Jimmy G, like we mentioned earlier, is just unable to air it out. There was only one time when he aired it out, and it was on a long pass to Trey Tucker, and it was actually a good throw and a good effort by the rookie Trey Tucker. He just did not get 2 feet in bounds on this play, and that was really the only time we saw Jimmy G take a big shot. And ultimately, if you got a quarterback who's not able to take big shots, like we mentioned earlier, the defense is going to play up and eliminate everything for you, and that's exactly what happened. Josh McDaniels, even though a reporter tried to praise some of Jimmy G's efforts, he kind of pushed back on it and said he was not encouraged by anything he saw from this team.
I mean, look, if we do a good thing, we do a good thing. I'm happy about that, but I'm not real encouraged about much of what we did today, just as an overall team. and again, like take responsibility for that. So,
and ultimately, Josh McDaniels did not really give a reason as to what they needed to do in order to improve. He pretty much blamed execution. He just said they got to play better, they got to coach better, but he did not really target or pinpoint any area in which the Raiders do need to improve. Obviously, coaches do not say much after the game, but look, I was told by the Raiders media, who Josh McDaniels feeds info, and by Josh McDaniels last week, who was hyping up Jimmy G hardcore in the presser, I was told by a lot of fans of Josh McDaniels and Josh McDaniels talking heads himself, the Raiders are going to be better this year, that the Raiders are going to be more competitive this year, that the Raiders got rid of the problem, which apparently was Derek Carr, and now they have a winner at quarterback and everything is going to be A-okay. And we saw one of the most embarrassing losses that the Raiders have had in quite some time. Because even though the Raiders lost a lot last year, keep in mind it was at least close games. And since Josh McDaniels was not quick to compliment Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe he's going to scapegoat another QB yet again, and maybe it's Jimmy G's fault. And keep in mind, NFL Network Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport are reminding us that Tom Brady has not officially bought the Las Vegas Raiders minority stake. He is not currently an owner of the team. Therefore, Brady is free to play for any team in the NFL should he come out of retirement. I'm sorry, why is the NFL Network, basically NFL.com, bringing up this crap out of nowhere today on game day? Maybe Brady's gonna have to come in yet again and save Josh McDaniels and make his record look even better. And honestly, that's BS, because the Raiders sold us on the idea that they're gonna be able to contend with Jimmy G instead of Derek Carr. You made your bed, now you gotta sleep in it. And even people who love Josh McDaniels were crapping on the guy and baffled by his play calling late in the game. Hondo Carpenter of Sports Illustrated, even he took to Twitter saying down 21 points, the Raiders still trying to establish the run makes zero sense. And this guy's always trying to tell us that, Josh McDaniels is a genius, he's making all the right decisions, but even he was scratching his head looking at this lackluster conservative play calling late in the game when the Raiders still had a shot. And once again, Max Crosby was held, and we know this is going to happen to Max Crosby. He's always going to get held. He's a star pass rusher. That's how it goes in the NFL. Raiders desperately need help around this guy, and it just wasn't getting done. I think if the Raiders would have been a little more competitive, then fans probably wouldn't be bringing up this holding. It is easy to completely blame the defense for this game, but keep in mind, man, the Raiders are investing so much on the offensive side of the football. They're investing more on the offensive side than most franchises around the entire NFL. The offense needs to step up. They're paid to step up and paid to lead this team, and Josh McDaniels was not able to get it done. Either the Raiders need better run blocking, or the Raiders need a better quarterback, or what I think is the case, the Raiders just might need a better head coach. And I hate to say this early in the season, but I think we got a little high and a little drunk off the Kool-Aid when the Raiders beat the Denver freaking Broncos by 1 point. Come on. We usually always whoop the Broncos' ass by multiple points. And we tried to stay positive, but I think reality is closing in on us as the Raiders got embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills. You let me know your thoughts and comments and what you believe the problem was for the Raiders in this game. And the Raiders are playing the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. They should be able to be more competitive. We can't just blame the fact that the Bills are too good. Oh well, there's nothing we could do. Josh McDaniels claims this team has gotten better. He's had his paws on this team for 2 seasons. He's got to get it done against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, or else I think the seat gets a lot hotter. We'll keep you up to date on everything happening with the Raiders, man. Make sure to like and subscribe if you have not yet. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.